In a previous video, we explored how different languages pronounce R, from the Spanish tap and roll to the French uvulaire, with some detours through Czech fricatives and English bunch tongue contortions. But there is more to say, much more. In this follow-up, we're diving into things I left out the first time, and that some people kindly pointed out in the comments. Hindi's retroflex flaps, Russian's hard and soft R's, Irish broad and slender varieties, Dutch variation between the beginnings and ends of syllables, R-coloured vowels in American English, Turkish R's that aren't quite what they seem. I can't do a Turkish accent. Swedish disappearing R's that leave an interesting trace. Let's start with Hindi, Urdu. Now there's a contrast between an alveolar flap and a retroflex one. So we get bari, meaning turn, as in it's your turn, and bari, meaning garden or walled enclosure. So bari, bari. In the first one, the tongue flicks up against the ridge behind the gums and is pushed away by air from the lungs. The second version has the tongue curled back to hit the roof of the mouth before the air pressure is released. Russian has a contrast between hard and soft consonants, which also applies to R's. Hard consonants are velarized. Think of the difference between light and dark L in English, where my accent, for example, has the difference between light L at the beginning of syllables and dark L at the end, like in lull. The one at the end is velarized, where the body of the tongue is bunched up at the back of the mouth to produce a lower pitch sound. Most consonants can have this in Russian, and that gives this distinctive sound to Russian accents. This contrasts with so-called soft consonants, where the front of the tongue is brought close to the hard palate, giving a higher pitched, palatalized sound. Examples include rad, glad, and riad, row or line. Rad, riad, rad, riad. Chor, choir, and chor, polecat. Chor, chor. Ukrainian, Bulgarian, Belarusian, and other Slavic languages work in similar ways. Irish, a Celtic rather than Slavic language, has a similar distinction, but velarized consonants are called broad and palatalized ones are called slender. The distinction for R has been lost at the beginning of syllables, but not at the end, making the difference between bike, roher, and bikes, rohers, for example. So you have roher versus rohers. Roher, roher. You'll notice that the slender R has quite a bit of friction at the end of syllables. The same thing happens in Turkish, also not related. R's there are normally flaps, but have a fricative version at the end of syllables. For example, Turkish for number one is bir, and sugar is şeker. Dutch is another language that has different kinds of R's depending on where they are in a word. I said before that some speakers have r and others have r or r. An interesting phenomenon occurs at the end of words, where some speakers devoice the uvular R's, r, whereas others have an allophone that's more like the North American variety. Rosa reserveerde een kamer voor haar verjaardag in Rotterdam. Speaking of Dutch, I'm planning a trip to the Netherlands in September to film a video in Leiden, where I want to try and not have people switch to English as soon as I open my mouth. So I've been using my lifelong subscription to Rosetta Stone to revitalise my Dutch, and it's going really well. Dutch is just one of 25 languages you can choose from. You can create a personal plan to match your level and goals, which can really help some people get motivated. Or if you're like me and prefer a less structured approach, you can let your curiosity lead you to explore whatever takes your fancy. In any case, Rosetta Stone's flexible scheduling feature sends you gentle daily reminders, if you want them, so it's easy to build a learning habit without feeling overwhelmed. I really love how new vocabulary and constructions are introduced through pictures. There's no translation, just immersion, the way we naturally learn languages. I've always found that working things out and guessing makes things stick in my mind. The speech recognition tech, True Accent, is a game changer. It listens to me speak in real time and gives instant feedback, so I can fine-tune my pronunciation before I even land in Leiden.
Is de vlucht op tijd?
Is de vlucht op tijd? The lessons are on practical topics, and Rosetta Stone has these great little stories you can read, listen to, or speak aloud, so you're not just memorising words, you're actually using them in context. So if you're planning a trip, curious about a language, or just want to try something new, check out the link in the description, or click the QR code on screen now for 60% off a lifetime subscription to all 25 languages. I talked before about languages like Czech, where R can be a vowel. You can also get what are called R-coloured vowels, with or without a U, in many dialects of North American English. This involves holding the tongue in the tip curled back position while pronouncing the vowel. This is common with the neutral unstressed vowel which is pronounced It's so common, in fact, that it even gets its own symbol in the IPA. The stressed version, as in bird and fur, can make American church sound like church to us non-rotitians. Next come R and OR, as in start and port. Some people have diphthongs for star and war, and most do for beer, although I did hear beer in Minnesota recently. Classic film star James Stewart pretty much spoke as if his mouth was always ready for an R sound, at all times. Many people pointed out that Swedish R's have a much more complicated geographical distribution than the map I used would suggest. Another thing they do is influence the following consonant and then disappear. When an R is followed by certain alveolar consonants like t, d, n, s, or l, the result is that the consonant becomes retroflex and the R disappears. That means that the tongue curls back in the mouth, often touching the hard palate. So child is pronounced barn, with a retroflex nasal. Card is kort, with a retroflex stop. Journey gives you fard, and the month of March is mash. This process is automatic and is widespread in most Swedish dialects, particularly in central and northern varieties, though it's less common in southern Swedish and Finland Swedish. So that was a deeper dive into some of the world's R sounds. If you've made it this far, thank you for indulging my obsession. If you're a fellow R nerd, I'd love to hear which ones you use, which ones you've wrestled with, and which ones you didn't even realise were R's until now. Leave a comment, and maybe try pronouncing some of these aloud, preferably not on public transport. Although, why not? And I'll see you in the next video. Until then, keep it rhotic, or not.